How would you describe V0 in one sentence?
V0 is, this is such a good question because it's changed over time. We first thought we were building a tool for making, for helping front-end developers build web pages. And then we figured out, no, it's actually the perfect tool to turn a back-end engineer into a full-stack engineer. Me personally, you couldn't chase me across the block and I wouldn't get that Figma file into a web page, right? But now I can. And then finally we discovered, no, what it actually is a tool that turns PMs into people who build prototypes, and which turns designers into people who build web pages, right? And so it's all these things in one thing.
Yeah, I saw Ray's nodding his head. We need that. So I still remember about a year ago, we have been in a room and discussing how we can help like visualize V0 and make that happen. At that time, it's literally a moonshot project.
Right.
It is really like amazing vision if we can, but we don't know. We think it's very far away from realizing it, right? So what makes you the determination of starting a moonshot project while at that time the model capability was not there? And yeah, so what drives that?
Yeah, I think V0 is now in a quite competitive market, but that space actually only started, I think, last October maybe, right? And V0 is actually more than a year older than that. And so we actually started when, I'm not sure that GPT-4 had come out. It was definitely way too expensive to use. And so we still, the first version of V0 shipped on GPT 3.5 as a base model. And I still remember actually being in the room because I think at the time, everyone who was interested in coding and AI was thinking, okay, code, web pages, they're just text, and these models are good at generating text. Let's give them the task of designing web pages. And whenever you tried that, and maybe some of you have on GPT 3.5, it would do something, but it would be horrible. But we didn't give up. And at some point, someone literally and it was so, because we were a remote company, but we happened to be in the same room. So we raised our hand, and like, guys, I figured it out. I changed the prompt to ask for Tailwind. And so Tailwind is this new way of writing HTML and CSS in one bundle. And it was such a coincidence because Tailwind is a relatively new technology, but it's just old enough to get popular just before the knowledge cutoff date of GPT 3.5. And so because it intertwined HTML and CSS in one kind of inline notion, these older models were able to reason about it way more than I'm going to write a CSS file here, I'm going to write an HTML file here. And so it actually worked, right? And so that insight led us to go from something that just wasn't a good thing to something that's really good. And then later, obviously, as models got better, the product category got even better, but it was an interesting journey till there.
Yeah, it sounds like serendipity, but I think that there's some kind of essence here. Also, what's your opinion of using off-the-shelf API versus creating state of mind? Well, we discussed a lot today with other guests, and kind of have your own model.
Yeah, absolutely. So I already mentioned that the way we think about V0's model is as a composite model. So the harsh reality is that if you want to be competitive in this space today for large tasks, you have to use Sonnet. They're just the best. But the thing is, they're not going to be the best anymore in 2 months. Maybe it's them beating themselves. Maybe it's Google getting better. Maybe it's OpenAI getting back into coding. Right? So the state of the art in this space is ultra competitive and changing every day. Right? So you don't want to tie yourself to any of these models. And so when I say composite model, what it really means is it's 3 stages. We first get that query and we augment it with specialized knowledge for the query. For our domain, it's web coding, it's Next.js-based web applications. So we do full stack applications by now, but it's still a very tight domain. So we augment using essentially RAG, right? Then we go into the frontier model, and then we do real-time as it streams post-processing of the output so that from a user perspective, it seems to be one model, right? And so that gives us the ability to have something that's specialized, where we're working together with Fireworks at the last stage, and kind of give it essentially do the fine-tune of a model that itself is not fine-tunable. I mean, with Anthropic, it's actually literally true, right? Some of the other big models would be fine-tunable, but it's also difficult to deploy that at scale, et cetera. So in the third stage, we then have a reinforcement learning fine-tuned model that does the last kind of correctness stage. And what we've seen is that it performs very, very, very substantially better than the state-of-the-art models. So this is a stat that's kind of from a while ago, but just when you did the eval of does it compile, Sonnet 3.5 was about at 62%. And so we are able to get that way into the 90s, right? Which, by the way, is still horrible. But it's obviously way better than almost failing in this like quite dramatic way almost half the time.
Yeah, I think we're making good progress here.
Yeah.
So I also remember because you guys are really into the product design, and one of the early questions is, should you wait, like when people prompt, and wait for a longer time for a better quality answer to come out, or quickly give the answer and have a user in the loop or developer in the loop to correct it? And between these two like spectrum of choices, which one do you see is working? And I essentially get to Sarah's point of, does speed matter?
Right. I mean, yeah, speed is absolutely everything. But quality also matters. What I love, one of the reasons why I love working on V0 is, and I worked on Google Search before, where obviously you have this like extreme data flywheel, but also you're like making micro optimizations on like some tiny bit of the query stream. And V0 is extraordinarily, like almost like incredibly sensitive to quality wins and regressions. So we see immediately that people go find something else to do when the model quality goes down, and we see an immediate uptake in literally revenue when we ship quality improvements. So that's the baseline. I think we are working, like everything around latency is key, right? Like the way I think about it is essentially that, and we heard that before as well, that you have products that are horrible or okay or great, even though they give the same answer, right? So you almost like unlock a product by making it faster. And so certainly in the coding use case, today, if you give it a large task, it's going to take a while, and the quality is probably important on that first moment. But then on the error fixing stage, for example, you want it to be as fast as possible. And yeah, we are working also on product changes, for example, where we say if the query of the user kind of says, I really just want to get the vibe, I want to get the design, then you probably shouldn't build the user a full stack app, which might take 2 minutes, right? Just give them a hint, and so they get faster impressions.
So you're one of those people telling us you need one thing, and you actually need 3 things at the same time. Better quality, faster, and higher user efficiency.
Right.
Cool. So, and tell us a little bit, like, if you are going to design V0 and walk this journey again, what are the things you would do differently, especially from sort of a model quality and speed trade-off point of view?
I mean, I think it's always a journey, so I'm not sure you would do something differently, right? Like we built a lot of technology as we were building V0. Like for example, the AI SDK was open sourced from the core of V0, and now that we have it, obviously I would use it from the first day, right? I know a lot about how to architect agentic applications that we just didn't know, and again, we constantly open sourcing that into the framework, and we also actually rewriting V0 in the small all the time to be kind of on the latest state of the art. So I actually feel pretty good about where it stands today. And but yeah, I mean, I wish I had a model like I do today 2 years ago, but I also wish I had the model that I'm going to have in 2 years today. So I think we're always in motion, and it doesn't really make sense to think about what would I have done or what I'm going to do in the future.
Cool. And last question, AGI or AI assisted?
What's it, AGI or what?
Or AI assisted. Fully automated or human in the loop?
I'm seeing incredible value in AI assisted. I think there are these I really think about this visualization where you have on the one side the super mundane, boring, repetitive tasks, and on the other side the highly creative tasks. And what I'm really seeing is that if you have this like gradient, software was it wasn't only on the boring side, right? But it was kind of on this side, and it just comes a little bit over, but doesn't yet touch the other side. And I don't really see that happening. I'm basically what I think we're really seeing is the applicability of software getting bigger, and that's incredibly exciting. But it's also only just that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.